Hundreds of people paid up to $100,000 to reach a remote Bahamian island, expecting the most exclusive music festival on Earth. They found disaster relief tents, soggy mattresses, and cheese sandwiches in styrofoam. This was the Fyre Festival. The man behind it knew weeks before it would collapse, and he kept selling tickets anyway. He went to federal prison. He got out early and somehow convinced people to buy the same lie twice. A single photo of a limp cheese sandwich laid out in a styrofoam box hit Instagram on April 24th, 2017. Within hours, it was everywhere. The image did not just go viral, it became the festival's obituary, summed up in a soggy slice of bread and a square of processed cheese. By the next morning, Twitter and Reddit were flooded with videos of soaked mattresses being dragged through muddy gravel, rows of disaster relief tents flapping in the wind, and crowds of dazed, sunburned guests clutching suitcases under a cloudless Bahamian sky. One attendee filmed a panorama of the flooded campsite, panning across the so-called luxury village, just FEMA tents and plastic chairs, scattered like an abandoned relief zone. Another live streamed her story from the scene. No food, no music, no security. Just confusion and panic as rumors spread of canceled flights and missing staff. Hashtag Fyre Festival trended globally before sunset. Mainstream news picked up the chaos almost instantly. By April 25th, 2017, CNN, BBC, and NBC were running segments showing the same images, cheese sandwiches, disaster tents, and lines of stranded festival goers at the airport. Anonymous voices echoed through comment threads. People said, "We are trapped. There is no water. We paid thousands for this." The spectacle was undeniable, the sense of betrayal immediate. It was not just a failed party. It was a promise shattered in real time, with the whole world watching. Months before anyone set foot on Exuma, the Fyre Festival was already a sensation, at least on Instagram. The campaign began with a single orange tile posted by Kendall Jenner, Bella Hadid, and Emily Ratajkowski. Each paid thousands to hint at a secret paradise. Jenner alone was reportedly wired $250,000 for a single post. The festival's influencer pool topped $5.3 million, with payments routed through agencies to keep the deals quiet. No hashtag ad, no hashtag sponsored, just a wave of glossy images and cryptic captions, all engineered to create the illusion of exclusivity. The pitch was simple. Tickets started at $500 for general admission, but the real draw was the upper tier. Luxury packages priced from $2,800 up to $100,000 and beyond. The most expensive options promised private villas, yacht transfers, and dinner with the headliners. Scarcity was part of the script. Email blasts and Instagram stories warned of tickets selling out fast. Within 4 days, every luxury slot was gone. 5,000 tickets vanished almost overnight, pumping millions into Fyre Media's accounts before a single tent had been pitched. Behind the scenes, the money flowed to influencers and models, while the festival's infrastructure barely existed. The marketing machine ran on the promise of paradise, not on any reality in the Bahamas. Each post, each wire transfer pushed the fantasy further, and the cash kept coming. Billy McFarland's appetite for risk didn't begin with Fyre Festival. Before the world saw cheese sandwiches and disaster tents, he was already rehearsing the same playbook. In 2016, he launched Magnuses, a so-called black card for millennials that promised elite access, lavish parties, and a curated social network. The pitch was irresistible. For a few $100s a year, young professionals could supposedly unlock a world of exclusive perks. Over 100 investors bought in, pouring $1.5 million into the startup. But inside the company, cracks appeared almost immediately. Internal emails from mid-2015 flagged cash flow problems and inflated user numbers. By July 2016, several investors had filed civil complaints, accusing McFarland of fabricating financial statements and failing to deliver on basic promises. The SEC took notice, later folding these allegations into its broader case against McFarland and Fyre Media. When Magnus's collapsed in early 2017, McFarland quietly pocketed a founder's share worth around $200,000. But instead of retreating, he doubled down. The Fyre Festival was already in motion, fueled by the same glossy pitch decks and grandiose claims that had drawn in Magnus's investors. Staff who had watched the first venture unravel now faced a new, bigger gamble. On April 14, 2017, a logistics manager sent a memo that warned there is no infrastructure to support 5,000 guests. "We are selling a fantasy." The warning was plain, yet McFarland pressed ahead, instructing the ticketing platform to keep selling packages and lock in deposits. Even as the reality on Exuma unraveled, the public story remained golden. The decision was not born of ignorance. It was a deliberate bet that image could outpace reality, at least long enough to cash in. The pattern was set. When faced with the truth, McFarland chose to keep selling the dream. While the world scrolled past viral images of cheese sandwiches and disaster tents, the real toll of Fyre Festival was unfolding on the ground. By the time guests landed on Great Exuma, the promised luxury had already vanished. Artists like Major Lazer and Blink-182 had pulled out days earlier, citing unfinished stages and unpaid contracts. The music never started. Instead, thousands of ticket holders found themselves stranded, clutching luggage in the heat, searching for water and answers. The collapse was not just a social media spectacle, it was an economic catastrophe for the island. Local vendors and workers who had spent months building stages, hauling supplies, and preparing meals were left with nothing. Island Catering reported unpaid invoices exceeding $2 million. Bahamian construction crews, many working around the clock in the weeks before the festival, never received the $75,000 they were promised. For many families, that missing money meant lost rent, unpaid school fees, and empty cupboards. As panic spread, festival staff abandoned posts. Security vanished. Some guests barricaded themselves inside tents, fearing theft or violence. Others made their way to the airport, where over 2,000 people were crammed into a sweltering terminal with little food or water. Flights were delayed or canceled. It took days, not hours, to evacuate everyone. The Bahamian government scrambled to arrange emergency ferries and charter flights, footing bills that would never be reimbursed. When the dust settled, the festival's unpaid debts stretched from New York investors to the smallest local supplier. The headlines focused on influencers and failed luxury, but for Exuma's workers, the fallout was personal, a broken promise that echoed long after the last guest flew home. Federal prosecutors wasted little time bringing charges. On May 30th, 2017, a grand jury indicted Billy McFarland on 7 counts, including wire fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. The indictment laid out how McFarland had misled investors, fabricated insurance policies, and siphoned funds for personal use. By October 2017, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts, wire fraud and conspiracy, admitting to defrauding investors and ticket buyers out of $27.4 million. The plea agreement required him to forfeit assets and cooperate with investigators. In June 2018, the sentencing memorandum called out the massive scale of deception and pressed for a punishment that would send a message. U.S. District Judge John Coltle handed down a 6-year federal prison term and ordered McFarland to pay $26 million in restitution. The numbers were staggering, but the reality for most victims was bleak. The government had only recovered a fraction of the money, and ticket buyers received pennies on the dollar. McFarland reported to prison in December 2018. After serving just over 4 years, he was released early in April 2023, classified as low risk and placed on supervised release. The court barred him from securities work, but the restitution order remained, $26 million still owed, with payments stretched far into the future. The official record closed the book on the original fraud, but the story was far from over. Billy McFarland emerged from prison with his flair for spectacle intact. By August 2023, he announced Fyre Festival II, offering tickets at $499 without a venue, lineup, or date. The New York Times traced the official GPS coordinates to open water near Cancun. McFarland brushed it off, promising an experience unlike anything before. The website recycled old promises of luxury, but no logistics ever surfaced. The event vanished before a single wristband shipped. Undeterred, McFarland shifted to PHNX 2025, a next-gen festival on a Honduran island. Power outages plunged stages into darkness twice on day one. Attendance was so sparse that organizers invited locals for free to fill the crowd. Publicly, McFarland expressed remorse in a Business Insider interview. He said his biggest offense was lying to investors, and that he was genuinely remorseful. Yet he teased another comeback from a Honduran hotel. In January 2025, the Fyre brand sold on eBay for $245,300. McFarland live-streamed the auction, shaking his head. He said, "Damn, this sucks, it's so low." Billy McFarland admits remorse, yet he keeps selling new fantasies, even after pleading guilty to defrauding investors of $27.4 million and leaving local workers unpaid. The lesson? Audacity preys on hope, and spectacle still sells. If deception thrives again, it is because we are still buying the dream. Subscribe to MogulFlix.